welcome. My guest today is an actor who in just a little over a decade has become a leading presence in Hindi cinema. From small niche films to mainstream films that have broken box office records, Boman Irani is one of the busiest and most popular actors we have today. This week, he's fresh off the release of a new film in which he's playing not just the leading role or the role of the protagonist, but he's playing the leading man. Please welcome Boman Irani. Boman, it's good to have you on the show.
Blushing.
So in this film, you leading man for the first time?
Yeah.
In the typical sense, huh? Leading man, because I know what
Don't say it one more time.
Why? Are you feeling embarrassed?
No, not really, because the connotations are very different in the public eye. Leading man, yeah, okay, leading man.
How are you picking your movies? Why did you do Shirin Farhad ki Nikal, Padi?
I thought the script was extremely sweet. I think that the casting was a great idea. There have been many offers to do lead roles. The earlier one that I had done was well done, Abba, hardly a hero, romantic hero. But the reason why I thought this would be a nice opportunity is to spread your wings sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
See if you can hold a film together and gives you a chance to graph a character a little differently than, say, a character actor in which I would get 8 to 10 scenes to graph the character, sometimes even less. So I wanted to get some breathing space to kind of graph the character, which for me is great fun as an actor. It's a learning experience.
So that's the reason you did it. That's the challenge that was there for you personally.
Challenge.
Now that it's out there, how are you evaluating the way you tackled it?
I'm always critical of what I do, and I've prospered because of that. In many ways, the one thing that I always aim, apart from craft is all very important, is to find honesty in what you're doing. If you're honest and you're not a great actor, it will always be a good performance. If you are a a trained actor, and if you can manage to mix training and craft with honesty, then it becomes a great performance. I'm trying to do my best as far as mixing what is known as finding the truth and mixing craft and characterization and trying to putting the two together. Someday I will be happy with what I do.
Not yet.
Yeah, satisfied to a certain extent. One should, and in this whole process of being overtly critical about yourself, let's not forget the fact that that's one opinion. And it's the great opinion that matters to me at the end of the day. But given a couple of weeks, I'm willing to be less harsh on myself, because the reaction to the film is nice. Public and friends and people who don't call you often enough are messaging me and telling me that they've enjoyed the film, which is great, so I have to respect that. Audience loves it, then you got to get back to the drawing table and say, okay, they liked it, but maybe they are wrong. But one always has to savor success at the same time. Artistic success has to be addressed in an introspective manner later on.
So this film and the last film, I think, was Ferrari
That's
Ka Sawari. You're playing Parsi. So that's not a challenge at all, right?
Sure, it isn't.
What do you make of this?
What do you guys do for a living? You sit there and you throw these. It's not a challenge, no big deal. That's
What's
so
the
easy
big
to
deal?
say.
Are you Parsi? You know, it's second nature to you. You're playing yourself.
Actually, you're right.
I'm just teasing. But tell me, what do you make of this interest in the Parsi community, whether it is Shirin Farhad or whether it is Ferrari Ka Sawari?
Ferrari ki Sawari.
Ferrari Ki Sawari.
What we sometimes seem to forget, and I think the public seems to forget, that the Parsi community has been integral to the building of this nation.
Yeah.
It is not just into the flavor brought in for the season. What happens is that people at the back of their minds sometimes forget that Parsis were very integral in the industrialization of this country. In many walks of life and many professions, they have been in the forefront. And then every now and then we have to remind them.
How is the Hindi film industry looking at this? Is it a trend, or is it just, two stories which were interesting to the people who made them?
I think it boils down to that.
Okay.
It boils down to that, and it worked in these two particular cases, because Ferrari Ki Sawari is about honesty and honesty
Yeah.
going wrong.
Yeah.
And this particular case, we're talking about, mummies and sons, and it kind of lends itself very well to the Parsi community milieu. So I think that's just about it. If there is something, I mean, I hope someone makes a biopic maybe about, say, a Ratan Tata or maybe a...
And you'd like to do a biopic,
I'd like to do a biopic, yes.
Now let's reverse the question. What is the Parsi community making of these two films?
I think they're pretty happy.
Yeah?
They're pretty
Even
happy.
in Shirin and Farhad, where it seemed like, a little over the top, little
But
stereotypical.
that's all right. Come on, it's a comedy. That's all right. See, eventually, the objective of the film is not to change lives.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
The objective of the film is to ask the average cinegoer, did you have a good time? Did you feel good? Did you laugh? Did you cry? I think they will.
So now I'm going back to the other question, which is that was it tough to be Parsi and play Parsi?
It is.
What are the challenges?
Well, it's as simple as that. You've seen the film. Is this Farhad Pastakia? Am I Farhad Pastakia? Am I Rusi Debu? Am I that person? I'm not. So when you're playing somebody else, you've got to get into his body, you've got to get into his heart, and you've got to get into his mind. And getting into a character's mind is probably the most difficult thing to do. How he thinks will be how he'll feel, and how he feels is how he, the history behind him, how he walks, how he speaks, how he talks, how he reacts.
So the backstory that you're crafting for
It's not
every
just
character.
backstory.
Then?
The embodiment. Backstory is yes, a very, very important aspect, but just making yourself believe that every creak in your body, every time you react to something has to be based on who you are. The life you have lived, which is maybe the backstory, and your aspirations and the life that you want
Of the character.
Of the character. Well, I am hardly Farhad Pastakia. I'm married almost 45 years, let alone live 45 years
No,
without a
I mean,
marriage.
you know what I mean.
No, I don't think. See, what you are aiming at, and I think, and I must tell you in no uncertain terms, that's very short-sighted. Because what you're saying is, if you're a Parsi, it'll be easier for you to speak like a Parsi, and it might be just about easier for you to walk like a Parsi.
And to know nuances, cultural
And then
nuances.
what? And then what?
So, for instance, because I remember you telling me once that, when you're doing roles, you want to play the whole spectrum. So, which means that if you were to play Sardarji, it would require some more work. That's where I'm getting
Absolutely.
at. I don't mean because you're Parsi, playing Parsi is easy. That's not what I mean. I'm just saying, what is the more or less that you have to put in, and in what areas to get a fix on the character?
I'll tell you what, it's like comparing the character in Ferrari Ki Sawari with the character in, say, Shirin Farhad.
Which you
They're
can't.
both Parsis,
But
they are so very different.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
the thing is that you have to, and again, what we are doing is, yes, maybe I have access to a lot more material. That's about it. But it's who you take, what you take from who, and how much. And you collect all that material and you put it into one and then make it a one.
When you look at your body of work, it's a huge body of work in a very short span of time. And then look at the variety. So you have Well Done Abba, which is one of my favorite films, by the way, that you've done. Then you've got Houseful, you've got The Dons, you've of course got the big Munna Bhai and Three Idiots kind of space. What is Boman Irani's kind of cinema? Given that you're doing all of it quite easily.
I'm searching for it.
No, that's just very easy. You're just deflecting it.
No, I'm not deflecting. You cannot say, I will do this role. Someone has to offer you a role. Those roles have to be there to be done. Those films, it's eventually a director's medium. Director's making a film. You are one small part of it. Now, either you're part of it or you're not. And if I'm not part of it because it may not be my kind of cinema, then you're not doing anything. You're going to be sitting at home for the rest of your life.
I get that. What is your kind of cinema? I still want to get to understand what excites Boman Irani as cinema.
I like cinema which, it has to entertain, number one. Two, it has to mean something to the filmmaker. When a filmmaker asks a filmmaker every single time, why are you making this movie? If he gives me an answer and says that this is the story, but this is what I'm trying to say. Not the moral of the story. This is what the theme of the film is. This is the theme that excites me. Then I have something to look forward to. If a filmmaker turns and tells me, I don't want to say anything, I want to make a blockbuster, I want people to laugh. Okay, you've given me a good enough reason. But if you tell me that I want to tell a story about a man who is lame, that's not good enough for me. Why do you want to make a story about a man who is lame or blind? Give me a reason. And then that excites me. So that will be the kind of story that I would want to be part of or make as a filmmaker. It is a director's medium. People are very generous when they tell me I've got a body of work and I'm a decent actor. I sometimes wonder, I don't know how good, because sometimes I don't like myself.
And you can then see how a good or not so good director makes a huge difference to your craft.
Absolutely. And being a character actor, I don't mean to be being a character actor and sometimes being an actor with a certain amount of, okay, you'll take care of yourself, build on something and come back and let me know. You know?
Yeah.
So sometimes you are on your own, except with a very, very few directors that you know, you are on your own. And I have no problem with that, because in that sense that I can work, present something to the director, and then he makes his choices whether he wants me to do it this way or that way. But you're asking me what my kind of cinema is? It's difficult to tell. It probably is exactly what your kind of cinema is.
Okay.
Now you tell them what your kind of cinema is and answer.
Well, in your body of work, I told you, Well Done Abba is one of my favorites. Three Idiots was good. Munna Bhai MBBS, the first one, was fabulous. And of course, the Lage Raho Munna Bhai. That, in terms of the theme, was
fabulous,
just, you know, I mean, superlative.
I like that kind of stuff. It entertains, it makes you think for a while, it doesn't ask you to be stupid. I'm okay with that.
You know, given the success of you as the funny man, okay,
Right.
Even when you do the villain, it's a bit funny. There is a little twist to, you know, if you look at the builder in Lage Raho Munna Bhai. Yeah. So you're not exactly, you're a bad guy, but you're not a bad guy. You could be a
somewhat like
funny
real
bad
life.
guy. Yeah. So the question is, have you had to fight that? Have you had to fight that? Because you must be getting more and more and more and much more of that, because you pull it off with such ease, and it's so much fun to watch.
I do have my share of the dons in my life, and my share of the Eklaviyas in my life, and share of some very dark characters. Like even in Ek Mein Aur Ek Tu, I play a dark character. And for me, I don't think Virus, except for a couple of scenes, is a very dark character. He's not a bad guy.
Yeah,
he's
no,
not the villain,
He's not.
but he's an extremely dark character. And there's a challenge in playing that. So yeah, but it's okay. I think in this day and age, given the kind of times that we live in, when everyone tells us the time is nigh, I think people are looking for a laugh. And unless we in India are making, you know, diverse kinds of cinema, every film of ours has humor in it. I do not know of a single film that I have seen in the recent past that does not have a funny track in it. And the characters, even a Vaseipur is funny.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
Khosla Ghosla was funny. Vicky Dona was funny. Maybe Kahani. I thought Dirty Picture was funny. I think Dirty Picture was a comedy as far as I'm concerned. But I do not know of a single film where there is no... That's the kind of cinema we have to have. And as long as I'm called upon to do that, I'm okay with it, as long as my characters are diverse. I'm not thinking of anything else. As long as one of my characters doesn't remind you of another guy.
What are your dreams today? Because, you know, when you came into the industry, it was you know, it was not expected, this kind of phenomenal acceptance that you got with the audience and with the film industry. Was it expected? I don't think so.
No.
So today, what are your dreams? Also, given that, you know, in your early 30s, you did go through a time when you were struggling to be a photographer. You were, you know, you had stopped the family business of the wafer shop. You know, things are so different. what are your dreams today, given where you're perched?
I need a couple of free days to think of that and let you know. But I love cinema. It's something I've always dreamed of doing and being part of. I genuinely feel that I have a lot more to offer as an actor. I do have a lot more to offer. And at the same time, I have this feeling deep down that do we have a lot more to offer me in this situation that we are in, for me to give you a lot more to offer. I don't know if you understood.
I got it. And you're worried that they might not ask you for all that you have to offer.
So when you ask me, what are your dreams? I don't want to dream about that because maybe that may not come my way. Maybe I should fix my own dreams. Maybe I should go out there and make a film myself.
Which you've toyed with for a while. You've been writing also.
Yeah. So maybe that's what it is, because I don't know what people expect of me. They say, okay, you're a good actor. Thank you very much. But I say that I've got a lot more to offer. But does the industry have enough to offer? I don't know. I don't know. People are very... I've had a wonderful innings. I've had a wonderful time. I've made too many friends. I've had wonderful acceptance, respect, been paid decently well. What problems do I really have? The yearning to maybe want to do more.
And the fear that you may never be asked on to tap into that more that you can offer.
And every time you're at the crossroads of your life, be it you, me, or a college student, you have to make the opportunity yourself. You can't expect other people to fulfill your dreams. They can do it up to a limit. They've been very kind to me. They've given me more than what even you expected. When you first interviewed me in the lawns of the golf course in Chimbur, you didn't expect that we'd be sitting over here talking about my career like this 9 years down the line.
It's incredible.
Right. So the industry has given me a lot. I'm never going to be ungrateful. But maybe what I feel I have to offer may never happen.
It's interesting that you don't mention theatre at all, and yet one of my biggest discoveries of Boman Irani was in the theatre and in I'm Not Bajirao. Again, in a brief conversation with your mother, I remember her saying that that is still for her the most phenomenal performance.
Why would you say I don't mention it at all?
No, I'm saying you don't mention the fact that you might find something there that might challenge you, and you haven't done theatre in all because you haven't had time.
Let me tell you something. I have been, in that sense, fulfilled in theatre. I will get back to theatre someday. But as a cinema actor, there is a lot left for me to do. So let me complete that, and then we'll go back to theatre.
Okay, and final question. Your son got married recently, and I remember seeing the photographs in the newspapers, and I saw a photograph of your mother and Dilip Kumar.
That's right.
And I just felt that given her interest in the movies, her role in your life and the way she shaped your interest and your unusual entry and then career in the movies, it seemed for me to sort of just sum it all up. How do you see it?
Well, first of all, when Saira ji calls up and says that Dilip Kumar loves your movies and we will come, I just sent the invitation because I feel he is the father of the fraternity. He's the dad. He's here for us to savor and enjoy. So she calls up and says, he says we must go because he loves watching your films. I'm thrilled. And then I'm saying, no, he may not turn up. The fact that he turned up. He refused to take the golf cart from the gate to the venue. He walked. He said, "Hey, chalenge." And he walked. And then he went. And then just as we took him into the bungalow, and my mom was sitting there, and we went and sat over there. It just happened by chance. He came and sat down. And she thought she's a little schoolgirl all over again. She was looking at him. And then he was enjoying that moment so very much himself. And she went through his films. When I went for the premiere, my husband was very upset that, that I'm turning around and looking at you. And said, why have you come with me if you're going to look at Dilip Kumar? And she told, and he was beaming away and beaming away. It was a moment that I think it was not just about my mother or Dilip Saab or me. It's about cinema. It's about the fans, and it's about the movies and the impression that it makes on you as children, as adults. Dilip Kumar as an adult, my mother as a child, my mother now as an adult with Dilip Kumar, and all that they ever dreamed of as youngsters. Dilip Kumar saying at the age of 80 something, that people, I mean, the way people love him, this girl, my mother, who's 84 herself, you know, doting on him, it just tells you a lot, so much about the beauty of cinema. And cinema's always made out to be a very dark and black place with a lot of, like a Sunset Boulevard kind of thing, where it's, you know, pretty on the outside but dark on the inside. I think it's a beautiful place to be.
Well, Boman Irani, what can we say? We are glad you're in the movies and making cinema. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. So I wish you all the very, very best.
Thank you, Daniela.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anu.